Welcome to Unpacked, real conversations for diplomatic partners who are ready to unpack more than just boxes. This is the space for the brave questions, the messy middles, and the quiet decision to stop shrinking and start showing up fully. Talk identity, purpose, transitions, and what it really takes to feel at home in a life that's always moving. Because you've always been more than the label, and this is where we say it out loud. Hi, I'm Anna, and I am with my co host Emma. Hi, everyone. Hi, Emma. We are recording today the episode number 18. How crazy is that? It's so good to see you, Emma. How are you?
So nice to see you, Anna. I'm doing really well, thank you. Growing this baby. It's getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. I'm spending more and more time on the yoga ball, just bouncing up and down. And at the moment, baby is transverse, so they're lying sideways. They're very comfy.
Oh my
So
God, okay.
we need to get them moving.
Yes, I know. That's yes, at some point, definitely the baby needs to
Yes.
move.
So there's this really cool website called Spinning Babies that has like recommendations of like different moves and things like that to try and encourage baby to move. So I'm trying them, but I think was it last night, the night before? I can't quite remember. Um, they woke me up moving from one side to the other,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "Ooh, maybe they're moving. They're on the move." But by the time the morning came, they were back
Go
to their
back
normal
and just
comfy position.
exploring. No, no, I like that position. I'm comfy here.
Yeah. So, yeah, apart from monitoring these baby movements, I am just busy doing some work and preparing for baby's arrival and trying to just get lots of things wrapped up behind the scenes, which is really great because there's things on my to do list that I've been wanting and needing to do for like over a year now. But I've just been so full. I think we talked about like full of ideas and just like moving on to the next thing that I've taken some time to just go back to the foundations of the zesty life, which has been fun actually. I've actually really enjoyed just slowing down without the pressure of putting myself out too much, which has been really good. How about
Oh,
yourself? What have you
that
been up
sounds
to?
that sounds amazing, Emma. It sounds actually very productive. I mean, giving yourself this time now to catch up with things, so you kind of it still almost feels like you're kind of closing one chapter, right?
Yes.
The week is the life the way it is. It will be a different life. One thing, what I heard actually today on a podcast that the three pivotal, the way our relationships are wired. It's the age between 0 and 3, right? That's where the
Yeah.
nervous system gets the first wiring, and then in our teenager years, that's where we first have our crushes, kind of love interest and so on, and how we go through that will affect how we're dealing with relationships later in life. And then the third one, when we're adults and when we become parents, apparently it rewires our brain. That's
Yes.
kind of going through this huge milestone. It's like, that's so exciting.
Yes.
Emma,
It
I
it
am
is.
excited on your behalf. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm very excited. I've seen like some of my really good friends how their whole like self-development journey comes through parenting as well. And I find the whole thing fascinating because you have to learn so much about yourself to raise a child, right?
exactly.
Emotional regulation, what your opinions are, what kind of life you want them to lead, or the type of person you want to help them, like what values do you want to impart that's also important, and all of those things, and how to have like difficult conversations, when they say, I don't know, random things and you have to explain things to them, and it's especially in this life where you're surrounded by so many different cultures and, yeah, surrounded by different people, different cultures, different ways of being, that actually it's a really it's a great way to not only test your understanding, but to be able to explain clearly so that a child can understand as well, that why people are different to each other.
Exactly. But I think the kids kind of absorb it. For them,
Yeah.
it's very natural. I think, especially growing up this way, I think they ultimately will see all human beings as human beings without that
Yeah.
many divisions. That's what at least I see in my kids.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I think the way I see the whole, parent on child dynamics and things like that. It's like they are our greatest teachers, that's for sure. Just you're going to learn a lot
Yeah.
from them. So that's very exciting, Emma. I think
Yeah.
we'll be aunties and uncles, right?
Yeah.
Podcast. Unpacked
Exactly.
aunties and uncles.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I was thinking, well, we will see, but maybe they'll make a little guest appearance one day.
Oh, I'm sure we'd love to.
Yeah.
Yes, then everyone has to go and watch on YouTube. I think
Yeah, they
that's
won't have to just hopefully they will sleep, and if not, then
yeah,
we'll find somewhere else for them to go.
exactly.
And how are you doing, Anna? What have you been up
I'm
to?
I'm doing really well. I'm actually getting ready for some travels.
Nice.
Starting this coming Friday, and juggling work and being a mom and being there for the kids and being there for your job and kind of setting these priorities right and I think it's kind of ongoing growth and journey because you can always be better, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of if you try, or at least, excuse me, I just close the door. If I want to, instead of putting myself under a lot of pressures, like I think it's atomic habit to set, like, if you try to be just 1% better every day, the
Yes.
compounding effect of that will be seen like in a year time or even a few months time. So kind of micro habits or micro pivots instead of let's destroy and create something absolutely new. It doesn't work either. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's also just being taking a moment to just be so proud of yourself, Anna, because you're doing so much. You've just got so many different things on your plate, and you're doing so many different things that yes, we can always improve. Maybe we can make things easier for ourselves, more effective, or different if that's what we choose. But you're already doing so much, so just
Oh, thank you, Emma. That's
give yourself a little break.
thank you, Emma. I'm giving you a big hug through the
Thank you.
camera because this is exactly how it felt like getting a big hug. Thank you.
Good.
And then kind of this appreciation. Thank you.
Yeah.
So today we are finishing our uncertainty talks. And
Yes.
as you remember, we covered last time what it is like when you kind of, okay, you're going, you're not going, how to get ready to posting when you don't kind of done, not all ducks are in the row yet, and how to deal with uncertainty prior going overseas. So today we're going to focus on with uncertainty when you are there, right, overseas, and towards the end, wrapping up and getting ready, either to be heading back home or potentially to another posting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's so much there, isn't there? You've got different uncertainties, or it's feeling of being out of control as well. I think, a lot of this, when you first arrive to the place, maybe you're put into temporary accommodation, you don't have all of your baggage, there's so much uncertainty about how you're even going to live your life because you don't know where the best supermarket is, you don't have that support system around you when you first arrive, and all you want, I think, in that moment is just to feel like you've got this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I know that my bags are going to come on this day, I can deal with that, but we know in reality that never that never works. So sometimes you get a date and it comes or it goes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's early or it's late. So you feel as if in those first few months or first few weeks at least, you want to just have everything just so tightly under control and know what's happening next. And I think that's because everything around you feels so out of control, doesn't it? And I think that that's a really important thing to think about and I notice this in myself all the time, when I feel like I get a little bit overwhelmed, or I start to feel anxious about anything, I all of a sudden go, right, what can I do to, I don't know, tick things off my to-do list, or I need to do something proactive, even if it's got nothing to do with the thing that's causing me the anxiety or the feeling of overwhelm. It's this feeling like I can do something and ultimately it's to have control over something. So it's a really nice
Mm-hmm.
way to just go, if you're feeling that you're in this stage where everything feels like out of control. You don't know where you're living, you don't know how to get your bread, how to get water, how to pay your internet bill, and all of those things. I think recognising that this is something that you're just going through, and it's normal, isn't it? Because everybody in this life goes through this stage where you feel like you have no information whatsoever. It's just to take a little breath, I think. Understand that that's what you're feeling, and then take a step back and go, okay, what are the things that I can do today to help this feeling just kind of dissipate? And whether that's to do absolutely nothing, just go out and go for a walk, have a coffee, read a book, or whether it's to do something proactive like book a holiday. You know?
For instance.
Yes. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my head, but it did. So doing something, usually, whether that's doing something productive or doing something unproductive, or I would call it productive rest, is, I think, is really important when you're feeling that sense of out of control. How about you? What do you think in that first few weeks?
I think it's a very good point when you say, so basically you're brand new in a new place, new country, new city. Let's say you don't speak the language, or you're clueless, you don't know anyone, you're brand new. And I think obviously, yes, it's heightened anxiety and probably uncertainty, but also excitement, right? And anticipation, hopefully, you know what's coming. And I think, how do you deal with uncertainty the best way? For me, it's always like, do whatever is in your power to create this certainty for yourself. And for me, it's like, how can you anchor yourself? Because I think if you have a routine that gives you, like, having these anchors throughout the day, that gives you this certainty and grounds you.
Yeah.
Because honestly, with kids, it's easy. You still will be waking up at the same time, probably, right? Once everyone is over the jet lag. And you still have, more or less, the day will look very similar to wherever you were before, if especially you have young kids, but even with older kids, if they go to school or daycare, I don't know, maybe it starts, because often, let's say we arrive, the kids would go sometimes to school like in 3 days.
Yeah.
And there's very little transition time. You kind of get right into it. And what I find for me personally, I guess as you were telling how you go through it or what helps you. I think what helps me, and so far, actually, I've been very lucky. There were always some helpful, wonderful spouses who were already at the post.
Yeah.
And I would be the ones who would actually even, I don't think I would reach out to them because I would not know who they are. But obviously, they would know there's a new family, newly arrived, and someone would help out. Like in some posts, like, and I did this job too, as a community liaison officer, I would be the one showing around and say, hey, this is a supermarket, we can do the first grocery shop together, or this is the school, this is that. So at least you have some idea, someone literally drives with you and just shows you. Or if not, like it's when I arrived in Beirut, my neighbor, she showed me the best nails place. Or, a coffee place, or said, okay, this is where you do this, and this is the app, this is a handy app you should have. Things like that. So because people who are living, you say, maybe they're not even in your embassy, but whoever kind of in these, let's say an expat, they've already invented the wheel. You don't have to go and reinvent it.
Yes.
And I'm sure they would happily share their know-how because they know where is the best meat, where is the best, I don't know, croissant you want to have, like things like that, like simple things, right? But they won't be able to tell you.
Yeah. And I think that I really love the fact that you said this, and I know sometimes these things are already inbuilt in the settling in system.
Yep.
So I have also had a community liaison officer take me around and do like a city tour and things like that. One thing that I found has been super beneficial are like buddy systems. I don't know if you ever had a buddy system, Anna.
No.
Where
you have that? You have a buddy system?
In Pakistan, we had a really good buddy system. In Kenya, I think the CLOs at the moment are introducing and kind of putting that into action, which is great. And obviously, this really depends on the size of the mission, and there's lots of other factors. But one of the kind of the bigger flaws with the buddy system is usually it's like the officer is tied to maybe another officer. And I'm a really, really big advocate for having partner buddy systems, because I think, like you say, having someone to take you around and saying, this is what it is, or, oh, your kids are this age, they should go and meet these kids, and
Exactly.
all of those things, I think is so, so important. So if that's not already in place for you, I would really recommend speaking to, if there's a community liaison officer already there, or somebody at the office, to see, or maybe this is through the officer, that maybe they can find the right people through their teams. Um, can you put me in touch with another partner, and take that proactive approach? Because if the buddy system isn't there, um, when they work well, and obviously I've also seen the opposite side, when they're not worked so well, when, I don't know, somebody's arrived and the other person's on holiday and it's just bad timing, so having somebody who's present in the country, who's willing, who's really like interested in helping other people settle, and taking a bit of time for other people, it can make the massive difference in that first week. I completely agree. I love the fact that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, and like I do it, when I run my coffee mornings with our newly arrived people here. Like I'm happy to show, okay, let's meet at this cafe and you should check out this. Do you need any info? Like I've lived here, I know I can recommend a couple of things. If because it's so helpful when you just
Yeah.
know there are some, even like geographically, some anchors. I think, like, anchors, how do you structure your day, right? What do you
Yes.
do with yourself? But also, like, those anchors geographically, okay, this is, and that's how you start mapping out, and kind of does not feel, or it stops feeling foreign, and it starts feeling like yours. The obviously, the sooner you start having this infrastructure around you,
Yeah.
but also I think through this, connections come. And I think we've touched on that in one of the episodes early on, right, when we talked about social, kind of how do you make your social life happy and full,
Yeah.
at a post. But yes, be proactive, invite people and say, hey, oh, I'm you, let's hang out for coffee. Or
Yeah.
and frankly, if you have kids, I find it easier, because then you'd meet people through school. There are, like, at the school where my kids are, there is kind of quite an active international parent, well, WhatsApp group, so to speak. There is a WhatsApp group even for diplomatic spouses for the whole of Lebanon.
Wow.
So things like that. Some of them are active, some not, some are double, some not. But you just need to kind of start asking, and gradually, it's kind of you'll obviously, how they say, if you are seeking, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Seeking, you shall find. Exactly. You kind of need to say, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to find this and this and this.
Yeah, and I think that this is why, even when we're talking about those social connections, and when we talked about that, we say, not everyone is for you, but just having a chat with these people can just make it, kind of gives you this understanding of where everybody is. And I found also, similarly, when you have taken that time to meet people and understand their stories, even if they haven't gone on to be like your best friends, when you do meet the new people and they say, oh, I've got an interest in this, then you feel so confident, like, oh, you should speak to so and so, because they also like this type of thing. So actually having that broader network, and just finding out people and people's interests, even if they're not aligned to you, is really, really useful in this life, I think.
Exactly, absolutely. And I think what a lot of us fall into is this isolation, right? If you're brand new, you don't know anyone. I think this is something you kind of want to, especially if you don't have kids, and it's just you and a partner left, like on day three to the office, and it's just you. What do you do
Yes.
with yourself? I think like this isolation also can, like, there is the two big things, like, loneliness and being alone. They're two different things. I think it's important. This lifestyle teaches us, I reckon, to be with ourselves and be fine and comfortable in our own company, because there are not always people around us or people we know. But long term or prolonged, like really isolation, I think it's not good. Like we both know, right, Emma? It's
Yeah.
really bad for your mental health, for your emotional well-being, and And I do hear it, like even when I talk to my clients or just other spouses, um, yeah, sometimes it just takes time to find your people. But I think it's also important to, yes, you kind of, you do want to belong, but at the moment where I am in like the stage of my life, it has to align with what I want and who I am. I'm no longer willing just to be with someone or around someone for the sake of not being alone.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
100%. But if you were in this situation, I always find that you end up feeling lonelier than ever when you leave
exactly,
because you've not had a fulfilling connection and a fulfilling conversation. So
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly, and I think just obviously, if you can work in the country and you're looking for jobs, that would also expose you to lots of new people, right? And
yeah,
new interactions. Check out if there are networking events. Some cities are buzzing, they have lots of things where you can go and actually meet people, also in a professional kind of sphere, right?
hmm,
Hobbies, language, right? This is something I think. So basically, if there is uncertainty, you've got to create this certainty for yourself. And you're
yes,
the only person who can do it. Your partner cannot do it. He can maybe introduce you to a few other families. So if you, I don't know, and maybe via those people can also become your friends. But I think that's kind of that's your job.
yeah,
How because you cannot outsource this certainty to the outside world. You have to create it, and you, yeah, kind of. That's why you think you want to be proactive.
yes, 100%. I completely agree with everything you've said. So if we then move on to like in those first few weeks, you've kind of done all of those things. We're in that middle section of where this you've settled into life at post, and you've got that middle few years depending on how long you're there. um the uncertainty sometimes I think comes from then also feeling like you you don't have any understanding of what's happening in the office, or not the office but like the policies or the things that you can do. What do you
Hmm.
think? It's like I know I've mentioned this before, but I can't go and get my own post. All of my post comes under my husband's name. Things like that can really start to take you out of that uncertainty and not knowing when things might arrive. um that general flux of what happens in a normal life when you are overseas. You've got friends that come and go. You have people
Hmm.
that come and go just through travel. You have short-term posting. You have people that leave unexpectedly. You that's completely what you said, Anna. That taking that whole certainty and onto yourself and saying, I am a proactive person, because I've been there where I've made amazing friends, and they left about a year before we did. And I was obviously, you feel sad, and you obviously you want your friend back, but ultimately you know that you have to keep on moving, right? And you can't. I think just making sure that you have that diverse group of people, I think, and not be so shut off. I sometimes find, and I don't know whether you've heard this, Anna, um, when you're in the middle of the post, sorry, the start of the post, everyone's really interested and want to know everybody, and be really proactive because obviously they don't know anybody.
Hmm.
Then in that middle stage, you kind of have your kind of your close knit friends. And then as you're getting towards the end of a post, and people are not so interested in making friends because they're also
No.
in that time of like wrapping
Hmm.
up and things. But if you catch yourself at some point in that middle where your friends have gone, but you're not in this state where you've also continued to meet and connect with other people that have just arrived, you can find yourself out, the uncertainty around that and the out of control elements that can quite hit you randomly, can't it? Right in the middle of a
Hmm.
post.
Yes, I think this middle stage, right, or phase where you are, you've settled in, you know how things work, how place ticks. But obviously, there are always so many layers. I don't think we can ever get to the bottom of them. You know, if you're really curious and you're open, like the country where you are or the city, it will keep surprising you. There are always things to discover, always
Yeah.
places to go, there are always people to meet. Obviously, kind of if you stay open and curious, new things and new people will be coming into your life. But I think what I just in general find, and I mean I can be also well honest here, it happened to me. I think if you, let's say you don't work, right, because for whatever reasons you could not find or you're not allowed to work in that particular post, I think what happens, and life is busy and you kind of it is at some point filled with things and a lot of them you do like, but I think it is important to, it also cultivates certainty. If you keep building your skills, you're working towards your future career, or you're doing something that is just yours, I'm sorry, even everything falls apart tomorrow, you'll be okay, you'll be fine. I think that's the only way you can feel certain about anything in life, when you know whatever, I've got it.
Yes.
And that's why instead of kind of chasing things on the exterior, I think it's really important. And so you don't have to work. It doesn't have to be work. It has to, again, as long as you know there is a purpose or there is a vision, there is something that is yours and you're working towards it. Maybe you spend this time studying and you're very busy, or maybe you are in the process where you know you want to pivot and you're going through the discovery process. You know what I want to do in the next stage, you know, after, because obviously the thing is, wherever we go in the world on a diplomatic posting, we know it's going to finish, it's going to end, and often we know exactly how long it's going to take. And that's why I think our brain is kind of okay, that's the end date, and that's how we operate. And that's why people towards the end of the post, me too, you kind of, what's the point? I'm sorry, I'm mentally checked out. I'm not quite here anymore because now I'm planning the next and the next, and it's just very natural, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a completely natural, because also you're starting that cycle again, back to thinking about, well, what's going to be the best place for me next, and you're going through that whole you know, that's process of making sure that you're okay in the next stage, and you're setting up the processes to make sure that your family's okay for the next stage too. So it's only like completely natural. And I just love what you were talking about like the having your routines and your studying. And you know, I know that's something that you really promote in your coaching, and it's something that I definitely promote in my coaching, is that you have to have something for yourself. Like, that is ultimately the most important thing. You have to have that. And you know, I talk a lot about being portable, having portable passions, and yes, there's this amazing potential of, you know, going to a new city, finding a new gym class, and you absolutely love it. And if that's you, that's absolutely perfect. But what I would also say is, well, if you don't find that, how can you create that for yourself? So for me, for example, you know, I think we all know by now how much I love my yoga classes. I signed up to a yoga online studio where I did my yoga teacher training, so I know the teachers. I've been taught by those teachers before, and yeah, I still go to classes in person, and I love those classes in person. But I also have the stability and predictability of just going online and having the teachers that I feel comfortable and familiar with. So if I do need that bit of comfort, which we all do need, I think sometimes when we feel that everything's like all new and all change, we do need that home comfort, don't we? We need predictability, familiarity. So for me, having something like that can be really, really useful to take me from one place to another place with complete ease, which is great.
That's such a great point, Emma. I think exactly because this lifestyle, what this lifestyle is lacking, and that's why it's kind of our job to build for ourselves. It's continuity, and 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 I think the only way you can do it is by having some things have to be constant. There are some constantes in your life that you have to make sure you kind of cultivate and nurture, and it can be yoga that you know this is kind of part of me. That's who I am, and it doesn't matter where I am. Maybe there is no yoga studio, but I have my yoga mat. I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
totally fine here. And I think exactly because this is again, you cannot control, like you can, I'm sorry, but you cannot control the relationship. You cannot control, you can contribute, you can kind of shape it, co-create, blah blah, but still ultimately you cannot control the relationship.
Hmm.
You're definitely not going to control the foreign ministries. You don't control the geopolitics. You cannot control anything, like very little, frankly. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like, whoa, it's all out of my control. But that's why, okay, what can you control? What can you build? Now that's yours, that even if everything disappears tomorrow, it's still you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only, the real confidence and the real, like, this sense of, hey, I'm grounded and I'm cool because I know I, whatever happens, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And how to, re- well, I was not always like that, definitely. Oh my God. And that's why I know how easy it is to lose this sense of I've got it because gosh, but frankly, if you outsource all of that and like this certainty suddenly comes from the outside and it's just, it's not going to work long term. It's just, it's setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, because
Mm.
I mean, like we talked about a couple of episodes ago, we have no idea, do we? You know, like you say, we could get short toured, we could get um, things change last minute, or we have an idea that a post is going to happen, then it doesn't happen. So really, just making sure that okay, what is it that I'm looking for? You know, am I financially safe? Am I good with like feeling confident enough to go meet people? Do I have my routines down? Have I got the building basis of my own security? Um, you know, what if we talk about even just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is like looking at
Mm-hmm.
our basic needs. You know, the first things are housing, food. You know, all of like those things there. If the worst case happened tomorrow, what would I do? If I had to go back to my home country, do I have enough money to feed myself and my family? Do I have somewhere to go? For some of us, it might be easy yeses. Other people, we might be like, okay, no, but I could get an Airbnb. But if we're getting an Airbnb or something like that, do you have the financial security,
Yeah,
regardless of your partner? I think, have you got that security net? Then we can go, okay, I'm sorted. I know what I'm doing. I've got my plane ticket out of here. I know what I need to do. What's the next stage? Okay, have I got the starting to look at the psychological safety needs and the safety? Do I feel comfortable to be myself and so on? And it's a really useful tool to kind of ask yourself all of those different levels and just see where have I got my security and the certainty for myself around these different needs.
exactly. And at the end of the day, you are the only person, frankly, who is in charge of you.
Yeah.
Only you.
Yes.
Only you. And that's why, like, taking this ownership and accountability and just being your best friend and showing up when you say you're going to do something as a good friend would show up for you. I think that's how you build this certainty because you show up for yourself. And
Yeah.
towards the end, right, what happens? Obviously, I find, how do you say, like, it's really, I think, like for us, postings are normally 3 years long, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you extend it to the fourth. And it's on the half year mark, it's basically when, it's like this, right? And then, oh, from there, it's just, it's very different. You just know, okay, this is, we're kind of on a home streak. Maybe you're
Yes.
far away from there, but we'll be kind of, that's the next destination, home or somewhere else. So, and obviously, often you don't know. Maybe you know, but maybe you
Yes.
don't. So
Yes.
what do you do then?
Yeah. And it's I mean, I think at this point, because like you say, that last 6 months of being at post, it flies so fast, doesn't it? You start to do the clearing out, or you're starting to think about the logistics of leaving, and yeah, it's that in itself, and just tying up all of those transitional things like your friends and your routines, and doing all of that when you're getting towards the end of a post, and to then either know where you're going or whether you don't know where you're going. And that can be very, very difficult, can't it? I think when you're it's I mean I found it very difficult to leave Pakistan because I was like, oh, this feels like home now. You know,
Yes.
I liked where we were, and I liked where we were set up, and I liked my friends, and I liked our community. I liked it. I felt very, very comfortable. I could have stayed there for much longer. Um,
Mm.
so the thought of then going and I remember when I first got to Kenya, I was like, I have my friends. I want my friends from Pakistan. Why can't we come here? And I remember
Mm.
you do have to go through that moment of like grieving, you know, a sense of that old life, and then being ready to go. Okay, this was a really wonderful chapter. Hopefully, if you've had a wonderful chapter, not all endings or not all
Mm-hmm.
postings are brilliant, but if you've had a really great time, it's really nice to go. That was really perfect. That all that you know, that was great. I'm really really treasured that time. So now I can take a moment and just get ready for my next chapter. And for some people, it's I think as well, isn't it funny when, and I think you see this when people are in like jobs and they know that they've handed in their notice. They do people do check out or they start to find the problems within the organisation, don't they? If
Mm-hmm.
they're working similar, I think when you're at a posting, I think if you're new to a post and you meet someone who's in the last couple of months, be a little bit cautious about what these people say because
Yes.
I know for a fact that people start to go, oh yeah, I can't wait to leave. I can't, I hate this bit or this bit really annoys
Yep.
me or, you know,
Very recognizable. Yes,
yes.
I
And
agree.
I think that that's a perfectly normal thing to go through mentally anyway because you have to as a person kind of understand that you're getting ready for the next stage. So I think it's a normal psychological trick that we do on ourselves to kind of go, yeah, these are all the worst things, so we're really excited about the new thing.
Yes.
I think it is just what happens in our brain. But I think when you are new, if you hear all of that, and that yeah, that would be like that would be, where am I? What am I doing?
You might start thinking it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. But I think, it's so interesting. And I really think it's kind of a coping mechanism, right? Instead, I don't want to feel sad or grieve, or maybe I am fed up. That's possible
Yes.
too. But I think I was just reminiscing on how normally process, those last 6 months. And I must say, yes, there are some places where, like, I'm really glad to move on.
Yeah.
I'm good here. But even in those places, there are some good things about it. And I mean, it might be the last time I'm doing that. And it's maybe the last or second last, or like, it's a countdown. And I think, especially the places you love, it's like you really want to imprint it, engrave it in. It's like really,
Yeah.
I want to take it in. I want to take it in because it's just so precious. And I know it will be gone. It's like I'm taking these mental photographs of everything, kind of, and these goodbyes. And I think I've personally, especially in places where I had lots of friends and the places were amazing, like I thought for me it was a very emotional time.
Yeah.
Goodbyes, I found them heartbreaking and sad. And when you have kids, you have like, and having 3 kids, I don't know the amount of goodbye parties and friends and all
Oh
of that. It's
gosh.
like never ending. And I still have this memory when we were leaving South Africa, and I have a picture actually. So my son had his 2 friends over, and it just kids telling me even like how their friends were crying at school, and like it really can get very
Oh.
emotional. And I have this
Yeah.
picture of these 3 boys hugging like that, like buried in each other, like.
Oh.
Emma, like it's a loss. It
It
is a
is.
loss, and if
It
you
is.
know, it's actually psychologically speaking, it's grief. You
Yeah.
are losing place, people. It's normal to grieve, and
Yeah.
it's good. I think I'm a big believer, and again, it's something I've been learning. Not a kind of I knew from the beginning how to do it, and I'm still learning that it's better to sit with those feelings and just be sad, and you
Yeah.
can cry instead of putting brave face like, oh, but it's a new adventure, and that was kind of always the part of the package. But I think if you really connect it, and I think, isn't it nice that you're crying because that was something valuable and precious and
Yeah.
deep.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, I think taking a moment as well to really save for that transition period, like maybe taking yourself for some holiday or decompression time somewhere where you can. I haven't done it, but I would imagine if you were flying from one country to another country, that would just be like an emotional bomb has just gone off in your head, because you've gone from this huge, this setup, this grief, this like all of this love that surrounded you and your community, to wow, I don't know anybody. It would be such a stark difference. I think that having a bit of time in between, I think, would be super beneficial. I don't know. Have you ever had to go from one place straight to another?
Yeah, yes, we did. I think that's all we've done actually, because
Oh
between the
wow.
postings, we've never been back. Oops, I'm not quite technically allowed to say that, but no. So, no, and that's why it was always a new place. And I think that's why, I mean, again, I'll be very honest, I think it does exhaust you because the
Yeah.
amount of emotional energy you put in all of that. And I think what I realized, we left South Africa, which was amazing, and I left on my own with 3 kids because he had to stay behind for another 6 months to finish the posting. It was me
Gosh.
going to a new country. Okay, kind of not new, but new place where you just don't know anyone.
Yeah.
And the kids being kind of some of them teenagers, and they were going through their grief, and I was the
Yeah.
only person to contain them. That was hard.
Yeah. That's
And I was also going through my things, but no one
well.
to hold
Yeah.
me in a way, right? Because like I was the only kind of I was the big adult there.
Yeah. And because obviously your support system is you and your husband, that you need each other, so then you can hold the kids. And if you haven't got that, that's a lot to contend with, Emma.
A lot,
Yeah.
exactly. And the kids, as a big one, they're young. They also process it differently. But like with my early, like they were early teenagers back then, like, just door slamming and hating me,
Oh.
and that's the worst, and all of that. And it's just understanding what they're feeling, right? Why
Yeah.
they, it's just, they just left their friends and the familiarity, and then they were kind of new kids and new school, and like hating me for that, obviously.
Yeah. Which every teenager does.
Which every teenager does, but
Yeah.
as a mom, this is just the sadness, the way they express. They sad
Yeah.
and they're scared,
Yeah.
right? As a teenager going to new school, it's
Yeah.
scary.
So what do you do in that situation, apart from just letting them just get it all out and just be the way that they will? Do you have any like
Uh,
proactive tips or?
Proactive tips. I mean, things that I would have done differently this time around. Kind of have
Yeah.
a bit more experience now and more wisdom. What I knew that exactly, I kind of, as a mom, you have to be contained now. You just contain, and sorry, but people can come and dump stuff and to you and like emotionally, because otherwise there is nowhere to go for them. They kind of they needed me to help them
Mm.
process, just being kind. But I think for me, I did it to the detriment of me because there was no one else. I was the one just containing. And I
Yeah.
think what you want to do, what I would have done differently, I definitely would invest it, or I don't know, organize more self-care time, maybe, I don't know, coaching, but you want someone to hold you too. You are a
Yeah.
human being, and just knowing like going through all of that alone is just, frankly, I think it's not very sustainable. It's not very good.
Yeah.
And you be a better mom and if you get this support for yourself. But also I think, I don't know, maybe with kids, I think it's a bit different with the kids, so like difficult, this emotional, let's say, some people never grow up emotionally,
Mm.
right? They're kind of in their 60s, these emotional teenagers, but it's a process. Like this emotional maturity takes time. Like I'm
Mm.
still working on that.
Yeah.
What can I expect from my teens to do,
Yeah.
right?
But I mean, 100%. I completely agree. I think that the most important thing that you said there, Anna, is that you just took time for yourself, or that you would take time for yourself. And I think that obviously there's different ages and things, but if we talk about from age 4 upwards and they're going to school, um, there is a period of time in the day where I would hope that all parents or mums and dads who are at home have the ability to take themselves off for an hour or 2 hours to do something once a week. I think that is the most important important thing. And maybe in those early years, because under 4, it's a lot for you to carry, isn't it? Because you are their entire world at
Exactly.
4 and under. But hopefully you have the ability to even be, obviously in your situation, Anna, you didn't have your husband with you, but you would have somebody who you could maybe start to work with, to trust, to look after your very small child, so that you can eventually, in a weeks, months, however long it takes for you to find the right person, you can have some time for yourself.
Exactly. I think being selfish, like it sounds, has a bad reputation, but that's the most selfless thing you can do as a mom.
Yeah.
You've got to look after yourself, because otherwise you can never ever give from the empty cup. And trust me, I tried. It just did not work.
Well, it completely doesn't work.
Yeah. So we kind of got a bit off track, I think. So let's quickly go back to. So again, there's only that much you can control if you don't know where you're going. Obviously, if you know you're going back to your home country or the home country, I don't know. That's again, it's another. It's like, what is the home country? Because I think we discussed with them, right? Like about 30% are foreign-born spouses.
Yeah.
So they'll be not going back. Like I'm one of
No.
them. That's not my home country. I'd be going back to. Exactly. I think what this lifestyle taught me so far, it's like when everything is transient, you've got to have the anchors in you. That's the only way.
Yes. It's completely in the way. And I think if we were going to say probably this in 3 words, it's routine, it's grounding, and it's doing something for yourself. Well, that's not 3 words, but
Exactly, self-care,
Yeah.
whatever, but
Yeah.
not in terms of bubble bath and eye mask. Well,
No.
that too at times, but just on a broader scale.
Yeah, I teach something about called yin and yang self-compassion, and the yin is the nice stuff about the bubble baths, the massages, the get your nails done, there's the coffee, there's all of the nice stuff, but the yang bit is the proactive bit, and it's the action, like how can I prevent this from happening again? How do I what can I do? Can I have a conversation to get some more support? So there are these 2 elements of self-compassion that are really, really super, super important for everybody. So yes.
Yeah, I think that's such a simple answer in a way, right, Emma?
Yeah.
It's like, if you look at all these complexities, but I think, yeah, that's it. In a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah, just look after yourself and just keep focusing on yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I think that's on that note we can actually finish this episode.
We
And right, thank you so much, Emma. It was such a great pleasure,
Yes.
as always and usual. And tell our wonderful listeners and those who watch us on YouTube
Yeah.
where they can find you.
We can find me on Instagram at The Zesty Life, and I have my email and my little website in the show notes. And Anna, how about you? Where do we find you?
You can see my handle here. It's, if you're watching, and Not Just a Spouse on Instagram. I have the same website. I mean, notjustspouse.com, and I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. And I think exactly all the info is in the show notes. And we have our question opportunity. If you want us to talk or unpack something for you here live, so you don't have to go and use ChatGPT at 3 a.m.
Yes. We're
Give
here
us a
for
shout.
it.
Yes, we're here for it. We're ready for anything.
We are ready.
And everything.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Anna, and I look forward to speaking to you next time.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Bye.